Innovations and designs. Jobs' design aesthetic was influenced by philosophies of Zen and Buddhism. In India, he experienced Buddhism while on his 7-month spiritual journey, and his sense of intuition was influenced by the spiritual people with whom he studied. He also learned from many references and sources, such as modernist architectural style of Joseph Eichler, and the industrial designs of Richard Sapper and Dieter Rams. According to Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, Steve didn't ever code. He wasn't an engineer and he didn't do any original design. Daniel Kotka, one of Apple's earliest employees and a college friend of Jobs's, stated, "Between Woz and Jobs, Woz was the innovator, the inventor. Steve Jobs was the marketing person." He is listed as either primary inventor or co-inventor in 346 United States patents or patent applications related to a range of technologies from actual computer and portable devices to user interfaces, including touch-based speakers, keyboards, power adapters, staircases, clasps, sleeves, lanyards and packages. Jobs's contributions to most of his patents were to the look and feel of the product. His industrial design chief Jonathan Ive had his name along with Jobs's name for 200 of the patents. Most of these are design patents, specific product designs. For example, Jobs listed as primary inventor in patents for both original and lamp-style iMacs, as well as PowerBook G4 titanium, as opposed to utility patents, inventions. He has 43 issued U.S. patents on inventions. The patent on the Mac OS X dock user interface with magnification feature was issued the day before he died. Although Jobs had little involvement in the engineering and technical side of the original Apple computers, Jobs later used his CEO position to directly involve himself with product design. Involved in many projects throughout his career was his longtime marketing executive and confidant Joanna Hoffman, known as one of the few employees at Apple and next who could successfully stand up to Jobs while also engaging with him. Even while terminally ill in the hospital, Jobs sketched new devices that would hold the iPad in a hospital bed. He also despised the oxygen monitor on his finger, and suggested ways to revise the design for simplicity. Since his death, the former Apple CEO has won 141 patents, more than most inventors win during their lifetimes. Currently, Jobs holds over 450 patents. Apple I. Although entirely designed by Steve Wozniak, Jobs had the idea of selling the desktop computer, which led to the formation of Apple Computer in 1976. Both Jobs and Wozniak constructed several of the first Apple I prototypes by hand, and sold some of their belongings in order to do so. Eventually, 200 units were produced. Apple II. The Apple II is an 8-bit home computer, one of the world's first highly successful mass-produced microcomputer products, designed primarily by Wozniak, though Jobs oversaw the development of the Apple II's unusual case and Rod Holt developed the unique power supply. It was introduced in 1977 at the West Coast Computer Fair by Jobs and Wozniak and was the first consumer product sold by Apple. Apple Lisa. The Lisa is a personal computer designed by Apple during the early 1980s. It was the first personal computer to offer a graphical user interface in a machine aimed at individual business users. Development of the Lisa began in 1978. The Lisa sold poorly, with only 100,000 units sold. In 1982, after Jobs was forced out of the Lisa project, he joined the Macintosh project. The Macintosh is not a direct descendant of Lisa, although there are obvious similarities between the systems. The final revision, the Lisa 2/10, was modified and sold as the Macintosh XL. Macintosh. Once he joined the original Macintosh team, Jobs took over the project after Wozniak had experienced a traumatic airplane accident and temporarily left the company. Jobs introduced the Macintosh computer on January 24, 1984. This was the first mass-market personal computer featuring an integral graphical user interface and mouse. This first model was later renamed to Macintosh 128K, for uniqueness amongst a populous family of subsequently updated models which are also based on Apple's same proprietary architecture. Since 1998, Apple has largely phased out the Macintosh name in favor of Mac, though the product family has been nicknamed Mac, or the Mac, since the development of the first model. The Macintosh was introduced by a $1.5 million United States dollars Ridley Scott television commercial, 1984. It most notably aired during the third quarter of Super Bowl XVIII on January 22, 1984, and some people consider the ad a watershed event and a masterpiece. Regis McKenna called the ad more successful than the Mac itself. 1984 uses an unnamed heroine to represent the coming of the Macintosh, indicated by a Picasso-style picture of the computer on her white tank top, as a means of saving humanity from the conformity of IBM's attempts to dominate the computer industry. The ad alludes to George Orwell's novel, 1984, which describes a dystopian future ruled by a televised Big Brother. The Macintosh, however, was expensive, which hindered its ability to be competitive in a market already dominated by the Commodore 64 for consumers, as well as the IBM personal computer and its accompanying clone market for businesses. Macintosh systems still found success in education and desktop publishing and kept Apple as the second largest PC manufacturer for the next decade. Next computer. After Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985, he started Next, a workstation computer company. The Next computer was introduced in 1988 at a lavish launch event. Using the Next computer, Tim Berners-Lee created the world's first web browser, the World Wide Web. The Next computer's operating system, named NextStep, begat Darwin, which is now the foundation of most of Apple's products such as Macintosh's macOS and iPhone's iOS. iMac. Apple iMac G3 was introduced in 1998 and its innovative design was directly the result of Jobs' return to Apple. Apple boasted, "The back of our computer looks better than the front of anyone else's." Described as cartoon-like, the first iMac, clad in Bondi blue plastic, was unlike any personal computer that came before. In 1999, Apple introduced the graphite gray Apple iMac and since has varied the shape, color and size considerably while maintaining the all-in-one design. Design ideas were intended to create a connection with the user such as the handle and a breathing, light effect when the computer went to sleep. The Apple iMac sold for $1,299 at that time. The iMac also featured forward-thinking changes, such as eschewing the floppy disk drive and moving exclusively to USB for connecting peripherals. This latter change resulted, through the iMac's success, in the interface being popularized among third-party peripheral makers, as evidenced by the fact that many early USB peripherals were made of translucent plastic, to match the iMac design. iTunes. iTunes is a media player, media library, online radio broadcaster, and mobile device management application developed by Apple. It is used to play, download, and organize digital audio and video, as well as other types of media available on the iTunes Store, on personal computers running the macOS and Microsoft Windows operating systems. The iTunes Store is also available on the iPod Touch, iPhone, and iPad. Through the iTunes Store, users can purchase and download music, music videos, television shows, audiobooks, podcasts, movies, and movie rentals in some countries, and ringtones, available on the iPhone and iPod Touch, 4th generation onward. Application software for the iPhone, iPad and iPod Touch can be downloaded from the App Store. iPod. The first generation of iPod was released October 23, 2001. The major innovation of the iPod was its small size achieved by using a 1.8 hard drive compared to the 2.5 drives common to players at that time. The capacity of the first generation iPod ranged from 5 GB to 10 GB. The iPod sold for $399 United States dollars and more than 100,000 iPods were sold before the end of 2001. The introduction of the iPod resulted in Apple becoming a major player in the music industry. Also, the iPod's success prepared the way for the iTunes Music Store and the iPhone. After the first few generations of iPod, Apple released the touchscreen iPod Touch, the reduced-size iPod Mini and iPod Nano, and the screenless iPod Shuffle in the following years. iPhone. Apple began work on the first iPhone in 2005 and the first iPhone was released on June 29, 2007. The iPhone created such a sensation that a survey indicated 6 out of 10 Americans were aware of its release. Time declared it Invention of the Year for 2007. The completed iPhone had multimedia capabilities and functioned as a quad-band touchscreen smartphone. A year later, the iPhone 3G was released in July 2008 with 3 key features: support for GPS, 3G data and tri-band UMTS (HSDPA). In June 2009, the iPhone 3GS, whose improvements included voice control, a better camera, and a faster processor, was introduced by Phil Schiller. The iPhone 4 was thinner than previous models, had a 5-megapixel camera capable of recording video in 720p HD, and added a secondary front-facing camera for video calls. A major feature of the iPhone 4S, introduced in October 2011, was Siri, a virtual assistant capable of voice recognition. iPad. The iPad is an iOS-based line of tablet computers designed and marketed by Apple. The first iPad was released on April 3, 2010. The user interface is built around the device's multi-touch screen, including a virtual keyboard. The iPad includes built-in Wi-Fi and cellular connectivity on select models. As of April 2015, more than 250 million iPads have been sold. Family. Chrisanne Brennan notes that after Jobs was forced out of Apple, he apologized many times over for his behavior towards her and Lisa. She also states that Jobs said that he never took responsibility when he should have, and that he was sorry. By this time, Jobs had developed a strong relationship with Lisa, and when she was 9, Jobs had her name on her birth certificate changed from Lisa Brennan to Lisa Brennan Jobs. In addition, Jobs and Brennan developed a working relationship to co-parent Lisa, a change Brennan credits to the influence of his newly found biological sister, Mona Simpson, who worked to repair the relationship between Lisa and Jobs. Jobs found Mona after first finding his birth mother, Joanne Sheeble Simpson, shortly after he left Apple. Jobs did not contact his birth family during his adoptive mother Clara's lifetime, however. He would later tell his official biographer Walter Isaacson, "I never wanted to feel like I didn't consider them my parents, because they were totally my parents. I loved them so much that I never wanted him to know of my search, and I even had reporters keep it quiet when any of them found out." However, in 1986, when Jobs was 31, Clara was diagnosed with lung cancer. He began to spend a great deal of time with her and learned more details about her background and his adoption, information that motivated him to find his biological mother. Jobs found on his birth certificate the name of the San Francisco doctor to whom Sheeble had turned when she was pregnant. Although the doctor did not help Jobs while he was alive, he left a letter for Jobs to be opened upon his death. As he died soon afterwards, Jobs was given the letter which stated that his mother had been an unmarried graduate student from Wisconsin named Joanne Sheeble. Jobs only contacted Sheeble after Clara died in early 1986 and after he received permission from his father, Paul. In addition, out of respect for Paul, he asked the media not to report on his search. Jobs stated that he was motivated to find his birth mother out of both curiosity and a need to see if she was okay and to thank her, "Because I'm glad I didn't end up as an abortion. She was 23 and she went through a lot to have me." Sheeble was emotional during their first meeting, though she wasn't familiar with the history of Apple or Jobs' role in it, and told him that she had been pressured into signing the adoption papers. She said that she regretted giving him up and repeatedly apologized to him for it. Jobs and Sheeble would develop a friendly relationship throughout the rest of his life and would spend Christmas together. During this first visit, Sheeble told Jobs that he had a sister, Mona, who was not aware that she had a brother. Sheeble then arranged for them to meet in New York where Mona worked. Her first impression of Jobs was that he was totally straightforward and lovely, just a normal and sweet guy. Simpson and Jobs then went for a long walk to get to know each other. Jobs later told his biographer that Mona was not completely thrilled at first to have me in her life and have her mother so emotionally affectionate toward me. As we got to know each other, we became really good friends, and she is my family. I don't know what I'd do without her. I can't imagine a better sister. My adopted sister, Patty, and I were never close. Jobs then learned his family history. 6 months after he was given up for adoption, Sheeble's father died, she wed Jandali, and they had a daughter, Mona. Jandali states that after finishing his PhD he returned to Syria to work and that it was during this period that Sheeble left him. They divorced in 1962. He also states that after the divorce he lost contact with Mona for a period of time. "I also bear the responsibility for being away from my daughter when she was 4 years old, as her mother divorced me when I went to Syria, but we got back in touch after 10 years. We lost touch again when her mother moved and I didn't know where she was, but since 10 years ago we've been in constant contact, and I see her 3 times a year." I organized a trip for her last year to visit Syria and Lebanon, and she went with a relative from Florida. A few years later, Sheeble married an ice skating teacher, George Simpson. Mona Jandali took her stepfather's last name and thus became Mona Simpson. In 1970, after divorcing her second husband, Sheeble took Mona to Los Angeles and raised her on her own. When Simpson found that their father, Abdul Fattah Jandali, was living in Sacramento, California, Jobs had no interest in meeting him as he believed Jandali didn't treat his children well. Simpson went to Sacramento alone and met Jandali, who worked in a small restaurant. Jandali and Simpson spoke for several hours, during which time he told her that he had left teaching for the restaurant business. He also said that he and Sheeble had given another child away for adoption, but that, "We'll never see that baby again. That baby's gone." At the request of Jobs, Simpson did not tell Jandali that she had met his son. Jandali further told Simpson that he once managed a Mediterranean restaurant near San Jose and that all of the successful technology people used to come there. Even Steve Jobs, oh yeah, he used to come in, and he was a sweet guy and a big tipper. After hearing about the visit, Jobs recalled that, "It was amazing. I had been to that restaurant a few times, and I remember meeting the owner. He was Syrian. Balding. We shook hands." However, Jobs still did not want to meet Jandali because, "I was a wealthy man by then, and I didn't trust him not to try to blackmail me or go to the press about it. I asked Mona not to tell him about me." Jandali later discovered his relationship to Jobs through an online blog. He then contacted Simpson and asked, "What is this thing about Steve Jobs?" Simpson told him that it was true and later commented, "My father is thoughtful and a beautiful storyteller, but he is very, very passive." He never contacted Steve. Because Simpson herself researched her Syrian roots and began to meet members of the family, she assumed that Jobs would eventually want to meet their father, but he never did. Jobs also never showed an interest in his Syrian heritage or the Middle East. Simpson fictionalized the search for their father in her 1992 novel The Lost Father. Malik Jandali is their cousin. Marriage. In 1989, Jobs first met his future wife, Laureen Powell, when he gave a lecture at the Stanford Graduate School of Business, where she was a student. Soon after the event, he stated that Laureen was right there in the front row in the lecture hall, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her, kept losing my train of thought, and started feeling a little giddy. After the lecture, Jobs met up with her in the parking lot and invited her out to dinner. From that point forward, they were together, with a few minor exceptions, for the rest of his life. Jobs proposed on New Year's Day 1990 with a fistful of freshly picked wildflowers. They married on March 18, 1991, in a Buddhist ceremony at the Ahwahnee Hotel in Yosemite National Park. 50 people, including Jobs' father, Paul, and his sister Mona, attended. The ceremony was conducted by Jobs' guru, Koban Chino Otagawa. The vegan wedding cake was in the shape of Yosemite's half dome, and the wedding ended with a hike, during which Laureen's brothers had a snowball fight. Jobs is reported to have said to Mona, "You see, Mona, Laureen is descended from Joe Namath, and were descended from John Muir." Jobs' and Powell's first child, Reed, was born in September 1991. Jobs' father, Paul, died a year and a half later, on March 5, 1993. Jobs' childhood home remains a tourist attraction and is currently owned by his stepmother, Paul's second wife, Marilyn Jobs. Jobs and Powell had two more children, Erin, born in August 1995, and Eve, born in May 1998. The family lived in Palo Alto, California. A journalist who grew up locally remembered him as owning the house with the scariest decorations in Palo Alto. I don't remember seeing him. I was busy being terrified. Although a billionaire, Jobs made it known that, like Bill Gates, most of his monetary fortune would not be left to his children. These technology leaders also had in common another family-related area. Both men limited their children's access, age-appropriate, to social media, computer games and the internet. Hope you liked this video. Please like and share this video and subscribe our channel for more informative videos. Thanks for watching.